Only 80 years ago, we could come no closer to Mars than straining to see a tiny, shimmering image through a telescope in Arizona. Now, our instruments have actually touched down on the planet. Viking is a legacy of H.G. Wells and Percival Lowell, Robert Goddard. Science is a collaborative enterprise spanning the generations. When it permits us to see the far side of some new horizon, we remember those who prepared the way, seeing for them also. On each lander, there is a microdot on which is written very small the names of 10,000 men and women responsible for Viking's splendid achievement. One of the names in this microdot belonged to a friend of mine, a remarkable microbiologist named Vishniac. He was the first person to build a machine to look for microbes on another world. His friends called it the wolf trap. It contained a liquid nutrient to which Martian soil would be added, and any microbes that liked the food would grow in that nutrient medium and cloud it. The wolf trap was selected to go with Viking to Mars, but NASA is especially vulnerable to budget cuts, and the wolf trap was removed as an economy measure. It was a terrible blow to Vishniac. He'd worked 12 years on it. Others might have stalked off the project, but Vishniac was a gentle and dedicated man. He decided instead to study the most Mars-like environment on this planet, the dry valleys of Antarctica, which were long thought to be lifeless. But Vishniac believed that if he could find microbes growing in these arid polar wastes, the chances of life on Mars would improve. So in November 1973, Vishniac was left in a remote valley in the Asgard Mountains of Antarctica. He set up hundreds of little sample collectors, simple versions of the Viking microbiology experiments. On December 10th, he left camp to retrieve some samples and never returned. He had wandered to an unexplored area, apparently slipped on the ice, and fell more than 100 meters. Maybe something had caught his eye, a likely habitat for microbes or a patch of green where none should be. The last entry in his notebook was Station 202 retrieved, 22:30 hours. Soil temperature minus 10 degrees, air temperature minus 16 degrees. It had been a typical summer temperature for Mars. Some of his soil samples were later returned, and Vishniac's colleagues discovered that there really is life in the dry valleys of Antarctica, that life is even more tenacious than we had imagined. That fact may turn out to be very important for the future history of Mars.